Oliver.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here. And stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing regarding the proposed ordinances amending the Peters Township Code of Ordinances Chapter 440 zoning. The purpose of this evening's public hearing is to accept public comments on the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance. The public hearing was advertised in the Observer Reporter as well as on the Peters Township website. There will be a brief presentation by Township staff. This will be followed by questions from council as well as comments from the audience. Action on the proposed ordinance is tentatively scheduled for this evening. Mr. Lauer?
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Coons.
Tonight before council, as part of this public hearing, we have 3 separate zoning ordinance amendments that are being proposed. The first 2 deal with the mixed-use activity zoning district in the township. The first being a reduction in the FAR, which is the floor area ratio, from 1 to 0.85. This is being proposed in reaction to some other developments, namely the waters that we saw here in the town center zoning district. What this does is ultimately would reduce the ultimate development potential of a piece of property. I like to use the math of a 10,000 square foot piece of property. 1 FAR would give you 10,000 square foot of building space. 0.85 would give you 8,500. It's just a simple mathematical equation to give you the ultimate amount of building you could fit on a property. Then you have to incorporate all the other dimensional requirements like height and setback and so forth. So that is the first of the 3 proposed amendments tonight, is reduction in the FAR for the mixed-use activity district. The second of which is an elimination of our 25-foot maximum front yard setbacks along collectors, connectors, and arterial roadways in the same zoning district, being Route 19, Bebout, East McMurray, Hidden Valley, Waterdam Galley, Thompsonville, or Valley Brook Road. We would still maintain the 20-foot minimum front yard setback, but that 25-foot maximum poses a problem for developments of these pieces of property, especially along these busy corridors. Having buildings so close it can be problematic. And there are other things within the mixed-use activity district that still allow us to develop the character of these developments, similar to what we would be achieving here, that we can lean on when projects come before township staff. The third proposed amendment tonight deals solely with the covered parking structures for multifamily developments across the entire township. We currently have an ordinance requirement that 50% of the parking spaces for multifamily developments be covered on 3 sides. We are proposing to eliminate that entirely for the entire township. We have found that as these projects happen, these facilities might look good for a couple of years, and then over time they become in disrepair or run down and not necessarily all that attractive in the long run. So in order to avoid that in the long haul, we just would propose to eliminate that entirely. Planning Commission reviewed this proposed ordinance at their April 13th, 2023 meeting and provided a recommendation of approval to council.
Thank you, Mr. Coons. Are there any questions from council? Are there any comments from the audience? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. That closes the public hearing. We'll move on to the regular agenda. First item is approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Next is special reports, of which there are none, so we'll move right into audience comments. This is the part of the meeting where any member of the audience can speak for up to 5 minutes on a non-agenda item. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Seeing no one, we will move on to unfinished.
Mrs. Shaner's on her way. You might want to wait a minute.
Is she on her way?
She is.
Notice she wasn't out there. She's probably celebrating tonight because I saw they put the speed hump back in front of her house today. So she's probably out there rejoicing tonight. So that's why she's not here tonight.
That's why she couldn't make
So
it.
we'll move on to unfinished business, of which there is none. So we will move on to new business. First item would be proclamation designating April 23rd through 29th, 2023 as National Library Week in Peters Township.
So the stated purpose of National Library Week is to celebrate our nation's libraries, to celebrate the contribution of the library professionals and volunteer staff, and to promote library use and support. And the theme for the National Library Week in 2023 is that there's more to the story, and if there is a library that exemplifies that, it's the Peters Township Library. Our library is no longer simply a depository for books. In fact, I think what defines it is its programming, and a perfect example of that is the NEA Big Read, which we're in the middle of. Peters Township Library was one of just 62 libraries across the country chosen by the National Endowment of Arts to participate in the Big Read program. And from April 1st to May 11th, the library has sponsored over 40 events associated with that project. The Big Read's going to culminate on Thursday, May 4th, featuring New York Times bestselling author Madeline Miller, who will be doing a discussion with regard to her works, and in particular Circe, the work that's been the center of the theme around the NEA Big Read. This is made possible in part by cooperation and partnership with the Peters Township Library Foundation, Washington and Jefferson Hospital, the Peters Township Park and Recreation Department, the Amateur Astronomers Association of Pittsburgh, the Peters Township Chamber of Commerce, and Monday's Brewing Company. And it's my recommendation that Council authorize a proclamation declaring April 23rd through the 29th as National Library Week within Peters Township.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, ordinance amending the Peters Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 440, zoning amendment.
Mr. Coons has just gone through that in great detail. It's my recommendation that Council adopt Ordinance 892, amending the Peters Township Code of Ordinance, Chapter 440, zoning.
Move to adopt ordinance number 892.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, approval for recording purposes of the Beinhauer Plan of Lots Number 2 as shown on drawings prepared by the HMT and Associates Group dated April 19, 2023 for Richard and Regina Beinhauer.
So if you look on the screen, what is occurring is there's a subdivision that are moving lot lines. And the reason why this is necessary is that right now there's a landlocked lot. It's that one shown in green. So the lot lines are being shifted in such a way as to provide access to a public road for that third lot. So all of the lots still remain conforming, and it's my recommendation that Council approve for recording purposes the Beinhauer Plan of Lots Number 2 is shown on drawing prepared by HMT and Associates.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, award of a contract for the purchase of asphalt for the South Hills Area Council of Governments Purchasing Alliance Program.
The South Hills Area Council of Governments opened bids for spring commodities on March 16th. Included was a bid for bituminous surfing material. In total, 4 vendors submitted bids from 9 different asphalt plants, but only 2 of the vendors have asphalt plants near Peters Township. What we have done in the past and what we're recommending again is that we award bids to both of those vendors so that in fact based upon availability that we can go out and acquire asphalt. What we do as a matter of course is always go to the low bidder when they're available. So it's my recommendation that the township accept the bids from Heidelberg Materials and Uriva Atlantic Coast LLC for bituminous surface materials at the specified unit prices.
You did not make note of what is covered in our docket here with material price increases from last year.
Substantial on asphalt, yes.
In the one case, 34% from 2022, and the other firm was 18%.
Yeah.
And they are they adjustable by way of the
Yes.
fuel?
Yes.
By the asphalt index, yes.
I'll make a motion that Township accepts the bids of Heidelberg Materials and Eurovia Atlantic Coast LLC for bituminous surfacing materials at specific unit prices, as above.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, award of a contract for the installation of thermoplastic intersection marking.
The 2023 Peters Township budget includes an appropriation of $55,000 for the installation of thermoplastic pavement markings at signalized intersections along Route 19. The Township's responsible for the maintenance of pavement markings associated with traffic signals that have been permitted by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Bids for the Route 19 intersection pavement mark were opened on Friday, April 14th. Only one contractor chose to bid. What you see is the base bid as well as the alternates. It's our recommendation that we award not only the base bid but all of the alternates. And what this will allow to occur is that all of the intersections from the Allegheny County line down to the intersection at East McMurray Road will be improved with thermoplastic intersection markings. And then our intention is to finish this project next year with the remaining intersections on Route 19.
Anybody want to make a
Yeah,
motion?
I'll move to award a contract to Parking Lot Painting Company for the installation of thermoplastic intersection marking in the amount of $46,771.25, which should cover the base bid and all the alternates.
Second. Motion and second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Payroll and Bills, Dr. Perosco.
I'd like to make a motion to approve payrolls and bills. I did review them. They're in good standing order.
I'll second. Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 6-0, Mr. Lauer. Any correspondence we need to discuss, Mr. Lauer?
No.
Anybody want to discuss any of the various committee or commission reports? Miscellaneous, cellular tower at Peters Township High School property.
We have been approached by a firm representing T-Mobile. Their intention is to install an antenna on top of a high-tension structure that is located near the Peters Township High School. They, of course, would have to negotiate with the high school to be able to do that. What is being described is something similar to what is the latest installation on Druid Drive, where there would be a pole that would contain in it all of the cabling that would go up to an antenna array that would be mounted on that pole, and that pole would be attached then back to the high tension structure that's in the park.
So we would avoid all the serpentining
There would
wires
not
up the...
be all that. So
Is this an alternative to the one that was out on Center Church Road?
this is an alternative location to that, and I think this location is probably more desirable because it sits higher, and from the standpoint of from being around anyone, it sits out by itself, and so it's an excellent location, in terms of being away from any homes. It's not usable land for the school district because the high tension wires pass right over it. So I don't know whether T-Mobile has yet to contact the school district, but the first thing that would have to occur is they would have to negotiate a lease with them. We have provided them information to help them with that. So
I don't have T-Mobile.
I don't have any idea how many people in the community have T-Mobile
I don't know
service.
either.
Can we put Verizon in?
Okay, next item, emergency purchase, Mr. Lauer.
I just want to inform council, there's a provision in the purchasing manual that allows the manager to do emergency purchases. We have a breaker that is on the main panel coming into the recreation center. That breaker has failed and needs to be replaced. We have attempted to get 3 quotes. We've only been able to get 2. And the low quote is from Merit Electric Group for $23,310, and I've authorized them to do that work.
No, you don't need a motion to that effect, right? No.
Just need to inform you.
Okay. Is there anything anybody wants to see on the next agenda? A couple of things, Mr. Lauer. I had a resident of Thompsonville Road call me and say that the noise from the construction at the Fife Farm extension is excruciatingly painful with the Jake braking going on consistently. Apparently, the trucks are using Thompsonville instead of East McMurray to access the site. Now, I thought we put a weight limit on Thompsonville, didn't we?
There is a weight limit. In fact, I think there's no trucks allowed on Thompsonville.
Yeah, but that would be considered local traffic.
That's
It's the only way they can get to the site, other than helicopter. So,
All right, well, I just,
can you put the Jake brake side up? Don't know.
I mean, if
Ordinance.
we periodically get complaints about Jake brakes, you can actually control those, but we'd have to get together with the traffic engineer to determine where it makes sense to do that. I know outside of our building here, during the day, you hear those brakes all the time.
let's look into that if we can. And one other thing, on TP Drive, I had a resident call me if there's an issue with the fence collapsing onto their property from the adjacent. I'm sure Seth's aware of that. Do you have any idea where we are on that, Seth?
It's been a challenging one for us. We just recently were finally able to get in contact with the actual property owner, so we've made some good progress here in these last couple of weeks. I'll follow up with code enforcement first thing in the morning to get an update on that, but I know that for months now, we were not able to contact the owner. He was out of the state. The tenants were there. They didn't have authorization to do the work. They couldn't get a hold of him. It was a very strange situation, but here recently, we've finally been able to get in contact with him.
All right, thanks, Seth.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything for the good of the order? Obviously, we have an executive session tonight.
We-
All right.
we- Slightly
Oh, you got anything
longer
else?
than normal. No, I can say slightly longer than normal.
We're adjourned.